Alright, so welcome back to Terraforming Mars. Now, in the last video, we went over most of the project cards that work with the special tiles. There are actually 4 more cards, project cards, that work with those special tiles. So let's go over them next. Now, these 4 have the strategy, these are the strategy cards. These have the strategy tags on them. So you would only use these, of course, if you were playing with the strategy cards. But, like, for instance, here we have Commercial District, and that will work with this particular tile here. And this tile will be worth victory points per adjacent city tile. So placing this in the middle of some cities will definitely give you some extra victory points at the end of the game. But like I said, you'd only play with this one if you were playing with the strategy cards. Then we have the Industrial Center, and so that will actually work with this tile here. And you will place this tile adjacent to a city tile, so you will have to place this particular tile next to a city tile, which means if there are no city tiles on Mars as of yet, you won't be able to play this card, obviously. So that's how that would work. Then we have the restricted area, and so you'll get to place this tile here, and it doesn't have any special requirements as where you would place this, but you would still have to place it next to adjacent to one of your actual tiles. But there you go, that's the restricted area. And then the last one, which is actually the same exact tile as one of the other ones from the original video, the mining tile here. But this one, not only does this tile have to be placed on an area with a steel or titanium placement bonus, it also has to be adjacent to another one of your tiles. So if you have no tiles nearby an area that has one of these placement bonuses on Mars, you cannot play this card, which is why it's cheaper than the other one. The other one costed 9, and this one only costs 4 money. So if you want to play this, you will have to have a city or a greenery tile nearby one of these types of placement bonuses in order to play this card and place this tile down. So that is something to note. That's the big difference between this one and this one over here. So this one works with the same exact tile, but its requirements are different. This one's easier to play because you don't have to have a adjacent tile to that location. But this one you must, which is why it's cheaper than this one, which is why this one is more strategic than this one. It makes you think before playing this, do I even have any tiles nearby this particular placement bonus? So that's something to note. And that's all of the tiles, special tiles that work with all the different types of cards. Now, one of the things this game has is it has microbes and plants. Now, there's a lot of cards that work with plants. There's a lot of cards that work with microbes. And it also has animals involved as well in Terraforming Mars. And so these 3 aspects, animals, plants, and microbes, there's a lot of cards that work with those 3 things. But there are some that specialize in microbes, and there are some that specialize in animals. And so I thought we'd go over the microbes first. So, we got a few here. Now, this isn't all of them. There are other cards that will give microbes. Now, you're probably wondering, what do I do with microbes? Now, if you have a card that says to put 1 microbe on this card, you'll put one of your copper cubes and you'll just put it on the card. And then it will do a variety of things. Some of them will be worth victory points at the end of the game for the amount of microbes sitting on the card, and some of them will do other things. So let's go over them. So this one is nitrite reducing bacteria. The cost is 11, And this one is going to add 3 microbes to this card when it's played. So when you play this, you'll get to add 3 microbes right off the bat to this card. And then as an action, so as a separate action that in that generation, and you can only use these actions once per generation, you can add 1 more microbe to this card or remove 3 microbes to increase your TR1 step, which is your terraforming rating, basically. So your TR rating is your terraform rating. So that will increase your score right now, and it will also increase your mega credit production as well, or it will add to your mega credit production, increasing the amount of money you get at the end of each generation, or beginning, however you see it. So that's kind of interesting. So this one basically increases your score and your money just with microbes. So that's kind of an interesting ability. Then we have Extreme Cold Fungus. Now this one is 13, and the temperature has to be below 10 or below, so it has to be really cold in order to play this card. Now once you've played it and the temperature increases, you can still keep using this action. It's just when it's first played that it has to meet those requirements. So what does it do? Well, as an action, you can gain 1 plant or add 2 microbes to another card. And that could have a lot of uses. Yeah, maybe if you play this and you're not really into microbes, or you don't have a lot of microbe cards, it might be just good to, add a plant to your player board every generation. But if you have microbe cards, you might want to rethink that and add 2 microbes to another microbe card. Like maybe even this one here, which will increase your victory points and your score at the same time. Or who knows what you could do with that one. Then we have symbiotic fungus. This one requires a certain amount, 14 Cs or warmer, in order to play. And then as an action, you can add a microbe to another card. So this is just like the other one, Extreme Cold Fungus. You could add a microbe to another card. It's really cheap too, only 4. So you might do that. Then we have decomposers. This one requires the oxygen to be at least 3%. When you play an animal, plant, or microbe tag, including this, hence this, add a microbe to this card. And then this is worth a victory point for every 3 microbes on this card. So if you play a lot of those particular tags, you'll be adding a lot of microbes to this card. And it will be worth some victory points at the end of the game. You also might want to maybe even, if this is the only other card you have, you could use symbiotic fungus to add a microbe to this card to increase your score. Or you could use this one to add 2 more microbes to this one as well. Vice versa. Or you could add those microbes to this one, which would increase your score as well as your money, which would probably be more likely this one here. But that's something to note. That's a really cool card. Then we have Search for Life. Now, I don't usually use this too much because it's a lot harder to use. But you play it. When you play it, you have to have your oxygen either 6 or less in order to play Search for Life. But then as an action, you can spend 1 credit to reveal and discard the top card of the draw deck. And then if that card has a microbe tag, you will add a science resource here. So this isn't actually a microbe resource. This is a science resource, but it will be worth 3 victory points if you have at least 1 science resource here. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, so as an action, you could keep doing this until you get one of those particular cards. If you manage to do at least 1, this will be worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. So that's kind of interesting as an action. You could do that, but it's not super useful in the sense of the other microbe cards. Then we have ants, and the oxygen has to be 4% or higher. Cost is 9, and as an action, you can remove 1 microbe from any card and add 1 to this card. So you could If you have microbes on other cards, you could remove one of them and add it to this card. And this is worth a victor point for every 2 microbes on this card. Or if your opponents have microbes, you could remove their microbes from their cards and add them to your card, this card here. So that's kind of an interesting way of doing it. That is possible. Who knows? But it would be fun to use for sure. Then we have GHG, or otherwise known as greenhouse gases producing bacteria. Now this one requires 4% oxygen or more. The cost is 8. But it's going, as an action, you can add 1 microbe to this card, or remove 2 microbes to raise the temperature 1 step. And so raising the temperature is very useful. You'll definitely need to do that in order for the game to be done, as well as obviously increasing the oxygen and placing out 9 ocean tiles. So this would be very useful to do. And like I said, there are other cards that could increase the chances of you doing this very often, increasing the temperature with this card if you had extreme cold fungus around, for instance. And then we have Rego Liffe or Rego Liffe Eaters. And the cost is 13. And this one you'll add 1 microbe to this card, or remove 2 microbes from this card to raise the oxygen 1 step. So we have one that, increases the temperature here, and we have one that increases the oxygen, using microbes to do it. So that's how, useful microbes can be in this game. Some of them will give you victory points. Some of them will help you raise the temperature. Some of them will help you, obviously, raise the oxygen. And so that is definitely an important aspect of the game, because that is the aspect of the game, to terraform Mars. And so if you can do that with microbes, all the more better. And in the Prelude expansion, there is one that is called Psychrophiles, which allows you to actually use microbes as currency for playing a card with a plant tag on it, which is the most awesome microbe card there is. But that is awesome. So we'll continue, guys, and see you guys in the next video. We'll do animals in the next one.